Hey guys, well, I pushed the wrong button on this GoPro, but it started going anyway, so I guess I worked okay. Still learning this thing. But I like it. It's a little bit more difficult to use as far as just, deleting files and things like that and changing settings, but I guess that's more of a thing of its size. But anyway, I spent about an hour last evening unrestoring this fan. I saw this fan that was back over there, and I had all douched down with a nice gloss cheap black paint, same stuff. It's not cheap, but it's just spray paint that I've been using on all the other stuff on this engine thing I'm doing. So I'd asked a question on the C-body forum and neglected to go back and look at the answers except for the first one. The first one says it's all supposed to be black, yada yada. So that's incorrect, at least for these cars. A lot of the A bodies and B bodies and maybe the E bodies had black fans, but the C bodies didn't. At least not in the 60s, they didn't. They are what you see. They're supposed to come with a black hub and bare natural aluminum blades. Somebody that has a 66, 67, and a 69 said his were all like that. So that's unusual, but that's the way it is. So I had to go take all that paint back off again, and just not sure where I'm going to go with this. I don't know if I'm just going to leave it like it is and call it good, because it's kind of difficult to paint all that, or what I'm going to do. I'll make a decision pretty soon. But anyway, that's what I've been doing with this. And one of my viewers, Go Sport Jamie, shared some interesting information with me about these date codes and things like that. If you'll notice, may or may not have pointed this out, but you see there's a character, a couple of different kinds of characters. There's maybe a manufacturer symbol, and then AAHJ, and then under that's J65. And that corresponds, that's the dating method they dated these fan blades, and each one of these fan blades has a J65 on them, so they all came, I guess, from the same date or batch or whatever. But that's all that works out. I think if L is last month, that would JKL, that would be October of 1965. And then he pointed out that this fan should have I don't know if he said inspection date or a balancing date. I know this fan had to be balanced because it's a metal fan, and he said that should be somewhere for the assembly, and sure enough, it's on this. If we can get that in there, you can see that or not very well. Let me move that around, but right there, that's it. L65, which is December 1965, and there's a 912773, which is one character too little to be a part number, as far as I know, because all of Mopar's part numbers in this day were 7-digit part numbers. And so that means it was balanced December of 1965, and this car was built, this 300 out there was built Christmas Eve, 1965, 12/24/65, so this all adds up. That they got the batch of fan blades together and then built the fan and balanced it in December, put the thing together and shipped it out. And this one, I went over this quite carefully when I took this fan apart, and I took the clutch out of it. And nowhere, no how did it have a stamp on it that said engine side. So that just didn't, a lot of them do. They sell reproduction stamps to do that with, but this one didn't ever have one that I could see. So I'll look again, but I don't think so. I've got to touch up this job a little more, and it did not have a part number stamped on anywhere. So that's interesting. But anyway, that's the story of the fan, and that's what I've been doing to it. I had to, I went back and looked at all the answers on that question I posted. Of course, if I went back and seen that in time, instead of jumping the gun, I would have been able to save myself some trouble. But that's all right. Worked out. So anyway, we're getting down to brass tacks on this thing. This is starting my vacation, and I've got just about everything done as far as prep work, as far as parts to put on the engine. Manifolds are done. I've got my dipstick baking in the derust solution, because this dipstick, I don't know if you can see very well, but that dipstick, the one in there, not the one that's speaking, is natural, which means it didn't have any paint on it, and what to do with the tube that goes to it. I'm telling you, I'm organized, but I actually do have everything in a certain spot. Yes. Let's go to the completed parts area here. The dipstick tube actually is natural on these, all natural. So it's bare steel. It never was painted. There's not a shred of paint on this dipstick tube anywhere, and I know that looks interesting and unusual for a fully painted turquoise engine to have a dipstick tube and a dipstick with no paint on it, but that's the way it is. I've looked at several pictures and read several threads on the subject, and they just did not get any paint. This apparently was added later, so after the engine was already painted. So some of them, the handles get paint, but this one doesn't. So that one has got a chrome dipstick and tube, and that's coming out. So yeah, that's ready to go. And I ran into a little problem. It's nothing terrible. I think it's going to work out okay. But what happened was I was prepping up the last of these parts, and I got to this fuel line, and that's where problems began. Because I was just cleaning this thing up, and it had some surface rust on it. But I got down here to this one little spot, and right there. I'm going to have to try to put my hand behind it. Excuse the shoddy camera work. But anyway, see that spot right there? That is where it is rusted. I don't know if there was a clamp around it or something, or what happened, but it's got a pretty significant rusted area right there. And it looks almost like somebody has maybe tried to put some, what is it when you fix radiators? The brass, the copper in there. Anyway, it looks like they might have tried to repair that. I can't be sure because it's a different color, so I wire wheeled the heck out of that thing. And that's a shame because this is probably the original, and I have another one, a new one, repo out there, repro. But I hate to have to buy another one because they're only original once. But I'll do it because, you know, there's no telling how solid that repair or that area, if it hadn't been repaired, regardless of what's happened to it, there's no telling how solid or not solid that is. So this is installed. That's the end that goes to the carburetor, and that flat line, the part of it that's level right there, goes right along the valve cover. So if that thing were to rupture, get a pinhole in it, it's going to spray gas out right over the valve cover and right on the exhaust manifold and the plug wires. And I don't have to tell you what would happen after that. Somebody'd have a bad day. So I guess I'm going to have to see if this one will fit out there. I thought that I remembered when I ordered this to put on this one. I ain't going to unwrap that right now, but I thought when I ordered that fuel line kit that it said for AFB and AVS carburetors. We'll see. And I got another question I'm going to have to ask somebody because I'm kind of weak on Carter carburetors, but I was looking at that. I've got an Edelbrock Performer over there, and I've got the Carter AFB that goes with this car, that 66 out there. And everybody talks about these Edelbrocks and AFBs having a counterweight on the secondary side of them. I want to show you something that's a little unusual. If I can do it easily enough without. Alright, let me get this Performer out. Now the significance of this, what I'm about to show you, is that everybody and their brother by now knows that the Performer, Edelbrock Performer, is loosely, I'm going to say loosely, based on the AFB. Based on it. It's not an AFB because you look at these things, you can tell there's significant differences in them. I mean, they're similar. The idle metering screws are in the same place. PCV port's in the same place. The mounting is roughly the same. This one's got an electric choke on it. This one does not, because it's got a divorce choke. But you see up here, the choke works totally different. This one has got a lever that comes out to the side here and all that, and this one has got the flap closes differently, and it's got this bar and this rod going back there to that thing and all that. See what they've moved it. See, this, it's here on the AFB, and then back on this one it's back there. Don't know the reason for that, and also, but the secondary side is pretty similar. You see, that's the Performer and that's AFB. But what is significantly different is they're talking about these counterweighted flaps back here. And if you look down in this carburetor, that's what these are right here. See that thing there on the side? That's the counterweight moving. And it's a kind of a crude arrangement when the airflow, down below those, you can see the butterflies, the secondary butterflies on the bottom that are not moving. But when those things open all the way, it's supposed to suck open these flaps. All right, so that's that. That's fine. Awesome. But this one doesn't have any flaps at all. You see down in there are no flaps. I've looked at this thing over and over, and yes, it is a 4-barrel. Yes, it is a functional 4-barrel, but no flaps. So I'm going to have to ask somebody. You know, I don't know if it's going to be another case of it's one of these things that the same information gets passed around the internet regardless if it's right or not. But this one does not have any flaps, and I'm just looking forward to, you know, I don't like confrontation, but there's always an expert on the internet, and I'm just waiting for somebody to say, oh, all those AFBs have those counterweighted flaps. Well, I'm going to take a picture and show you they do not. So probably some logical explanation for it. Maybe this is a kind of a low performance version and just they figured it didn't need it, but we'll see. Okay, guys, I'm gonna get on out. I'm gonna start disassembling this Fury out here. I'm gonna take the radiator and everything, core support out of it, and get it ready to get in here and get the engine out. I've got my couple pieces of toolage I needed came in yesterday, or the day before, whenever, I think it's yesterday. I got a lifting plate, which basically fits over where the carburetor goes. You can bolt it down, you can lift the engine up right there. That way you don't have to, excuse me, run chains across valve covers and all that crap. So use that, and then I've got a set of, bought a set of 6 or 7 of these tail housing plugs. These things that where you take the drive shaft out, you put these in to seal it so it does not dump all your fluid out in case the engine and everything tilts or something. So I got everything ready to go. I think I got all my accoutrement. I've got my hoist, which I'll get back out, and I've got buried in here someplace. I've got a couple different those lifting things where you crank it and it tilts. Now I hope I don't need that. I'm hoping this thing, I'm able to, just like I said a couple different times, I hope I can just sort of run this thing more or less just straight out. I don't want to take the hood off. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to mess with the hood, because I've been having, for a long time I've had minor back problems, and I'm having to take some physical therapy right now to deal with it. So the last thing I need to be doing is trying to lift the hood off. So anyway, I've had that car listed for sale, and I have not had any bites on it yet. So I'm going to relist it, I think, and if any of you guys want it, you're welcome to it for a good price. Again, it's a 68 Fury 3 convertible shell, and it is definitely a shell. There's going to be parts with it, but there's no title. That's it. So just for parts only. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this little segment up here and get busy. See you in just a second. Okay, so here's what's going on at this stage. I am in a comfortably seated position right here in a chair in front of this Fury. I took the nose off of it, and that allows me to get right in here to remove things that don't need to be here any longer. I'm gonna pull off this power steering pump. It's not the right one, doesn't go to that car. Pull off that alternator that's it's not the one I'm going to use, it's the wrong one anyway. This is one I kind of garishly painted. I don't like that. It's not even supposed to have that. It's a square back alternator, and it's not supposed to have that tag on it for this model of a car. As a matter of fact, you can see it says 81 right there in the little starburst. If you ever wonder how to read these dates, I know it says 81 up there, and that's pretty easy to decipher. But if you look around that wheel, there's 12 different spaces, and they've got, some of them will have dots in them and some won't. You look at, see how many's got dots in them, and that tells you the month. So that should be a little help to you maybe. So anyway, and I don't know what happened to my thermostat housing that caused it to seep water out, but it did. That's all the rust stains you see there. And that is a cast water housing. See how thick it is? And you see how poorly it's sealed? So, go figure. So this is going to be pretty cut and dried, really. It's just going to pull this thing out, like I said, kind of straight out. And I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe at least take that distributor cap off, because I think that's a good expensive one I bought. They're like 30 bucks a piece for those. And then carburetor's going to come off, and some odds and ends. Stuff I don't want to bang up for sure. And somebody sure did make these lines. You see they got the tag still on them. This car is actually, like I said, well, I don't know if I actually said it or not, but this car's been restored once already. At least partially, because the core support came out pretty easy, and you can just tell that it was painted kind of haphazardly. And the other car's got a little rust hole right there, and this one doesn't. Imagine that. Almost gives me the, if it wasn't for this car's been wrecked before. Right there. Sure enough, it's folded up right there. I thought this fender looked like a different one. It had different color paint under it. Sure enough. Excuse me. Sorry. So it's got primer in there. Cheap primer. Yep, somebody folded it up at one point. Well, I guess never mind. Never mind that idea. Yeah. Alright guys, why don't we quit rambling and start turning wrenches. I sure hope I can use this water pump. It looks like it's in good shape. It's made in USA. It's got to be better than. Alright. Height. Okay, so drain the coolant out of that car out there, and it's in good shape. It's not been run very much, but it had a little bit of rust and junk in it, so I'm transferring it over to some collection models, and got my funnel out, and I'm precision filtering it through an old pair of underwear, so it should work pretty good. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Crap's too expensive to throw away. Yeah, all right, the Fury is in position in the surgery center, and it is about all it can do to get in this garage here. But that's okay. It's just long enough to get either this car or the 300 in here. And this is going to be the 300's home spot. It's going to stay in here until I need to take it out and drive it, or work on something in the garage. I'll move it out then. But normally it's going to stay in here because the rain and everything to be on it. But this car, you know, it's just going to go away, I guess. And, you know, part of me wants to really fix this car, but then the rational part of me acknowledges that it is just really, it's just really going to need a lot of work. So it's got some rust issues. The quarters are kind of on it. Not bad, but back here, the trunk floor has been fiberglassed up, and the floors have been fiberglass a little bit, especially back here in the back. Right back there, kind of see there's a spot they've worked on it, but that's not so much. I've touched on this already, but like I said, this car is missing so many parts that, you know, I need another car to fix it. So I'm not going to rule out keeping it, but I'm probably going to go ahead and list it up on Craigslist and just move it on, because I don't know if I've got it in me to fix it. So anyway, it's in here, and I'm about to go take another break. It's really hot and humid out here, and so you know, when you get to be middle age, you don't have the stamina as much as you do when you're young. So I have to work a while, and then I go in and rest a while, and I come back out and repeat. So I don't have an air conditioning shop, which is not bad. You get the air moving in here, and you stay down kind of low. It's not bad. It's bearable. You might be wondering, where is this tow strap going to? Well, I'll show you. It's going out here to my tow vehicle. I don't know if I told you guys, but this car quit on me about a month ago. I think I told you that. Maybe I didn't, but anyway, it stopped dead. Well, it wouldn't start. I was somewhere, I'd left it sit for several hours and came back out to leave and go home, and wouldn't crank, so wouldn't start. So I went through the ignition system again, and I put a new coil on it and a new pickup coil in the distributor that I had, and it seems to have resolved that. It's not repeated, but now it's picked up a little bit of a miss. So it's not bad, and I'm just gonna drive it because I'm tired of fooling with it. I'm tired of dealing with it. It's got new plug wires and plugs, as far as I know. New cap, new rotor, everything's new. So I don't know why it's missing. The only thing I can guess is possibly that, and it's a guess, is that maybe the carburetor is just running so lean that it just misses every once in a while, part throttle a little bit. So I don't know. I like the car. I don't like the carburetor. All right, let me get busy. Taking things loose, taking linkages loose and all that, and getting ready so I can just pull this engine out. And I across something that looked weird to me. Take a look. Yeah, if you can see the light or not, maybe you can. Just the light. Anyway, you see this thing right here? This wire, it's got a wire going to this little terminal. It's on the side of the transmission. That's your neutral safety switch. That's a 3-prong neutral safety switch. Well, there's only one connection to that. You can see this clearly. The two outer unused terminals are just bent down to hold this thing on. This has got the wrong neutral safety switch in it. Now, come out. There it goes. See, it's only supposed to have one wire connected to it, because these cars are so old, they use the backup light switches on the steering column down there. It ain't right there. So I don't know if this transmission is probably, it's likely it's maybe either a later one or something. I gotta look at the numbers on the side of it there. But anyway, I put the wrong one of those in it, so I'll have to get another one. Because the other cars definitely got the one wire like that. I think they changed that either in 1969 or 70. But at least it looks pretty dry in here. I don't see anything leaking. So it's got a reman starter on it. It's not the right one though. It's a later style, high torque, high speed, large frame, whatever you want to call it. It's another one of those. But a good starter, that one works fine. But man, I tell you, I've got about 3 or 4 of them now saved up. I can't find the old ones that hadn't been rebuilt. I can find buku of these. So anyway, I'm just gonna do a little more of it here. I'm gonna take that speedo cable loose, and got the drive shaft loose back there already. It's just kind of laying around back there, ready to pull out. And so I can go with that. A little bit more than I'm going in. I'm hoping that I don't have to take this cross member out of it. This cross member is huge. Looks like something ought to go under a bus, doesn't it? Anyway. Alright, well, just thought I'd show you that little bit of nonsense there. Idiot. It's a good thing I didn't go getting the engine running and go down the road in this thing. Look at this. And that's not the wheel loose on the hub, that's the hub moving. Because it's attached over here. Dang. Evidently the bearings have come apart, I guess. Okay then. That was close. I was backing this car up, pushing it backwards to get it in position where I needed it, and it rolled better than I thought it did, and I was doing the Flintstones things, dragging my feet up there to keep it from running into this. That was smart. I didn't do that. Whew, there's a lot of work. Jeez. Crunch. Yeah. Okay, so let's go see where we're at. All right, so I think we're about ready for removal. Got enough space in here. I think I can get the hoist in, no problem. So I got the 2 engine bolts out. There's just 1 bolt on each side. Got the exhaust disconnected. Got the wiring disconnected. For the most part, I forgot one. Looks like. What is that doing there? All right. Power steering's off. Linkage is disconnected. Transmission line is disconnected. Fuel lines weren't there, so the wire to the reverse light or the neutral safety switches wasn't even ever disconnected. It's hanging out back there for some reason. And there it is down there. So that's okay. So I think all I got left to do now is jack it back up, put it back on the jack stand, and get under there and remove the cross member for the transmission. And I think what I'm going to do is get over here and see if I can dig out my transmission dolly. Maybe easier to go in over there and get it under there and kind of strap it to the transmission and use it to hold the transmission up while I'm maneuvering things. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Alright, that's it. Right under there. You can't see that. Let me get back on the other side here. That's a little better. Anyways, it's got 4 bolts to hold the thing in on the center, where you got the sealer, the plug put in the transmission, and the baggie over it, so that start moving this thing, getting it out. Hopefully it won't dump fluid all over. Just it drained a big bunch already into the thing. There's a lot in it. It's been a while since I've done this job. A long time. I'll tell you, I can't tell you much about it right now. I'll explain later, but this thing held quite a big surprise in here when I was looking at stuff. But can't really talk about it now. but we'll discuss it later on at the appropriate time. So let's get going. Alright then, so you ready to give this a shot? I don't know how it's going to work. I got everything out. I got a jack holding the back of the transmission up with a piece of wood between them, and otherwise the engine tries to let the transmission drop. The engine decides to go into the fire alarm. That's not good. So the main goal is to pull it up enough to get it off the mounts, to clear the mounts. Bolts are out, so once it does that, I should be able to start just pulling it forward. If it'll pull forward, if not, I'll push the car back if I have to. I got the other one out of the way at least. So anyway, enough yapping. Let's see what happens with this. Moving. Woo-hoo. Alright, so four wall situation looking. That exhaust needs to be persuaded off there. I do that real quick. Oh, I need a bigger screwdriver. That was not big enough. Uh-oh. Big screwdriver must be on a call somewhere. There it is. Right behind me. Right behind me. Sounds good. Good. Alright, she's off that mount. Kind of off that mount, not very far though. Keep jacking. That's what she said. Okay. Okay. Alright, it was off that mount. So almost off that now, so let's see if we can encourage it a little. Okay. At this point, I'll stop it. Sports fans, my dad used to say, I just had one dad, I know. When we're clearing the mounts, the engine is just a little this way, but that damn low lever, that thing is like a Chinese puzzle trying to figure it out. No offense to the Chinese, but trying to get the chains up even and stuff. So, alright, let's give it a preemptive pull here and just see what happens. About one more preemptive pull. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back there and I'm gonna, I should say that. I'm going to lower the, where am I? Yeah, I got a lot of firewall clearance back here, so I'm gonna lower the transmission a little bit, so that way it'll give me some more clearance to pull up on the engine. Oh. Good shit, man. Oh, okay. This thing is not even, it's not even sitting on the jack back there. I guess the load leveler is doing its job. Go load leveler. Now if I can remember which way this thing turns, I think it turns this way to go forward. You guys think I thought I'd never work or never worked on camera. No. All the way. I hope I'm doing this right. It's been a while since I've used this thing. Ooh, that got tight. What happened here? I guess that's all it's going to be. Okay. Alright. Well, how much space we got to have here for this? Not much. Go for it. Let's just go for it. Hey, looking good. I want to get the oil pan. Let's give it another pre-hit to pull. Something fell. How's it looking on an Earl pan? The Earl pan is kind of riding on the cross member. So let's go up a little bit. You guys want to get a better shot here? You want to watch. Let's see. Get you in for a tight shot there. A little too tight, maybe. All right. Flip a little bit. All right, I'm going to look here and see. May or may not be dragging. Looks like there's a cable there that's kind of getting in the way. Clear in there. We got transmission linkage that fell off, but that's okay. Not worried about that. Starter is cleared. How about over here? Just kind of gonna have to scrape by the exhaust pipe, looks like. But I think right now we don't want to beat up that booster back there. So just give this thing a little bit more of a pump up. I hear thunder rubbing. What is that? I'm going to kind of start urging it back over this way. We're stopped on something there. On the pan again. The linkage there, but that's not rubbing. I can tell. We've got. thing is wanting to go for some reason, won't go to the right. I don't know why that is, but let's do it. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, this, okay, pretty good. This, manifold over here is trying to hit on the, do a little bit more. This taking this front off though, it still makes it easier, because otherwise you gotta get the hood off and this thing 10 feet down there. I hate that. Do 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 do. That was looking barely. You think this is nerve-wracking? Why did I have to put it in that other car after I painted the firewall and everything? Excuse my language for saying it like this, but that's going to be a bitch. I have to get some help. We have to get my brother to come out. Okay, we're going to have to jack up, because we got... Well, you know what? Let me do that, or we can run our load leveler. But really, I've realized that I've done something to negate the effects of this load lever, because I tied the chains to the engine so tight that it didn't really allow it to work too good. As far as it has to, the leveler has to move and it's not able to. But you know what? I don't care. I'll learn from this. Okay, we got a little bit of pan to motor mount, frame mount concrete there. So go upside. Have a little bit more. Now I remember when I was I used to swap slant 6 engines out of these darts and Valiants and stuff, Lesters and Neiman's. I did about 3 or 4 in 1 year. And I could do it in the backyard on a plywood, piece of plywood. And so this is kind of breed. Nothing scraping. Get out of here, jack stand. Back up a little more. Okay. It is actually physically clear of the car, so that wasn't that bad so far. Get this out of the way. Come over here and see how you guys are looking on time. Not bad. Whoops. Sorry about that. Alright, so okay, I think now I'm ready to see if I can push this carcass out of the garage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're gathered here this evening to pay farewell, to bid farewell to this 1968 Plymouth Fury convertible. It gave its life in the service of Tyler's entertainment and pleasure. Trying to tie the exhaust to it. Man, those it did. Oh man. What the hell? Boy. Can't believe this. Don't ever get your feet underneath it like this. Okay then. Well, that physical therapist is going to earn his money this week. Hi, hello, how are you? Doesn't have the field of vision that GoPro has. But the GoPro doesn't mount yet. I've got a mount for it. Well, okay, that's as far as this can go. Okay, cut you off for a minute. You guys were the ones that quit taking starters to independent rebuilders to get them overhauled. You guys are the ones that started going to the chain part stores to buy these things. You guys are the reason that these are here. Don't say that I did it, because I don't go buy these. I have a whole corner full of these things I pull off. I don't use them. I go hunt up ones that are not rebuilt, and if they need rebuilt, I rebuild them myself. I haven't yet found one that actually needed rebuilt. So anyway, here's another short timer, I guess. It's just like a demon, like on one of those movies. They can't get in unless you invite them. You invited them. You let them in. So don't anybody say anything. Don't anybody complain about this. I'm not really complaining. I'm just making a point. They're here because you want them here. Don't say anything. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing about it. Well, chisel a bolt off here, but I think I about got it. I believe in giving something what it wants. Oh, wants a little more abuse and punishment. Okay. Well, that's what it wanted, and that's what it got. And it's off. Yeah. Okay, so I had to do a little bit more surgery here because I had to cut this pipe off. This is one of the heater hose nipples, and it's normally about this high. I think I don't know where the rest of it went. It's down here, I think. And the only thing wrong with it, the end was all kind of rotted out though and chewed up. It laughably has these little notches in it. You're supposed to just put something on there and just turn it out. Just turn it out. Well, you can't just turn them out. Once they're in there, like as long as they've been, they don't come out. So I was reading on a place on the internet where they sell parts for these and used parts, and they sell some of these used covers, and they say, well, or that's not actually a cover, it's just that thing, water pump housing. Anyway, they say that a lot of times those don't come out without ruining or damaging the water pump housing. And so this is a common water pump housing. It's used for 67, 68 on up through the early 70s. It's not anything real special or hard to find or anything like that. But that one over there is the original, I guess, and it's different. I was wondering what was different about it. It's very similar, except damn it, very similar, except if you look up here, there is where this boss is, I guess, for the alternator bracket, is here on this one, and on that one it's right down there. So that's what they meant being different. So since this is an air conditioning car, then I don't have all the brackets. I don't have any kind of brackets to put a 68 setup on it, or a 67, whatever, on up. So I don't have any of that. So we're not doing that. We're putting that one back on after I clean up. And this one has still got the bolt in it behind here. And what they did is, what I could have done with this one, but it's not. Hey, get out of here, mosquito. It's not easy to do it, but you can just kind of start backing this bolt out and try to get the thing loose and just leave it kind of entrapped in there. Leave that as the last bolt to come out. But anyway, I'm not going down that road. So that's the last one. It is loose. I can get it out no problem. So that's coming out. And what I'm going to do with this one is simply do what they could do in reverse. I'm going to use that as the first bolt to go in and get all my gaskets in place and everything. I'm just going to start drawing it in and let it draw it in and go from there. Get it part of the way and start another bolt, and we'll be good. Take a little bit of finagling, but it is what it is. So alright, I'm just going to continue along with this. Got the manifolds all off and everything with no problems, thankfully. And I turn my fan back on, the mosquitoes are after me. So I'm going to get that off, and then I may look at getting that pulley off down there. It's got 6 bolts and a big crank pulley to get off there. So take that off, and then I think I'm probably going to be at the point that I can start cleaning this thing up. I'm going to take I think this thing's going to be able to just sit on the floor like this and just sit there without rolling over, I hope. So, and then I'll get that hoist and everything off of there, and then we will get everything blown off and cleaned off, and we'll swap those intakes too and give this thing a coat of paint. I had an engine lift plate, but it wouldn't work on that one. At least it wouldn't work the way it needed to work. It fits that way, it does not fit that way. But it may work on that other intake, we'll see. Alright, so that's that. And somebody was asking me, I'm sorry that I'm not good with channel names, YouTube guys, your names, but somebody asked me about this transmission, what I was going to do about the transmission, or what condition I thought the transmissions were in, or at least the one in the car out there. And I'm hoping that the one in the car is okay. It did spit some fluid out, and it looked good, and it didn't look like it was. Well, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get it out, and I'm going to have to get the pan off of it, not this one, the other one. I'm going to have to get the pan off of it and see what the insides of it look like. If I'm lucky, the converter kept it from getting any water down in the transmission. If I'm not lucky, then it got water in it, and it's no good. No good for right now. So I have to use this one. Like I said, this is just some generic 727. I think it works okay. So it's not a problem to use it. It's the exact same transmission. The only thing that's different is a 65 down is a push button transmission. I think 65's my brother's got a 65 Coronet parts car, and it's got a 727, and it's got a thing that converts he says they changed over to column shift partway through the year, and that could be the case because it does not have rods. It's got like a little thing on the steering column that's a contraption that converts it from the column to cables. Pushes one cable, pulls the other, or pulls both of them at different times. I don't know what it does, but that's a weirdo transmission, but we don't worry about that on this because this is later. It's a 66, 7, and 8, and that's all good. See ya. All right, guys. Well, I think we are about to the point that we're ready to reverse course on this 383 project in here. And I'm sorry if it was a little dark. I just got home. I had to go to a physical therapy appointment, and it kind of took out the second half of the day as it is, and I hate having to stop them to go do that, but I feel better after I do it, and they're just doing what they can to keep me going, I guess. But I was out wrestling around with that green Plymouth out there a while back. I was doing all that. Somehow pulled a muscle in my back, or a couple muscles, sprained it or did something, but anyway, it got me in a kind of bad shape with that, so I've been going to see them, and they've been putting me on the machine and the stimulator machine, and giving me hot presses and exercises and stuff like that, and deep tissue and all that, so I feel a lot better. So I have to go do that. And anyway, I'm ready to get back at this evening, and I've been sitting here. Before I left, I was just taking my tap and die set over there, and I think that's what they call tap set. Forgot what the thing's called, but anyway, I've just been chasing threads on stuff. I've been doing these exhaust studs because I had some issues with a couple of those. So to alleviate that in the future, I've made sure to clean those real good, run through the threads on them, and also I bought some stainless steel nuts to go back on them, and we're going to use anti-seize, because if I have to take those back off for any reason, and I have a feeling I may, then I don't want to have to be dealing with any more rusty nuts. So, and past that, I'm just going to clean and all that and get ready to start going back into the reassembly. I've got, thanks to the previous owner, I have all the gaskets to put all this stuff back together again, so I don't have to go buy any of those. Got water pump gasket, exhaust manifold gaskets, valve cover gasket. I got 2 sets of those. I've got distributor gasket. I've got an intake gasket set over there if I decide to use it. I'm not sure if I can reuse that turkey pan or not. Those are a dry intake. And basically, any of you have Pontiacs or any other older engine like this, you'll recognize this as opposed to like a GM, like a Chevy or something. It's just got a solid intake with coolant in it. This one does not. It's got a pan here, and it's held down on each end, and then the intake sits over that, and it's bolted down to it. It's just one big metal pan type of a deal. So they call them a turkey tray. But that intake has to come off. You can see also what kind of a crappy job that paint job was I did. So I'm not too proud of that. And I was noticing over here that I'm going to have to work on these. I wonder if that's bent. I know it's bent right there, but that looks like that took a hit and pushed it down. I've got another valve cover. I'm going to go look at that real quick. I'm going to redo this valve cover a little bit. And for whatever reason, these things are where the plug wire, one of the plug wires runs over. It comes down through here and runs across this valve cover. And it's got these little plastic grommets that fasten in here. And I guess I was thinking either the valve cover was incorrect or the reproduction part was incorrect, and my money is, because it didn't fit right, so my money is on the part being wrong. So I'm going to straighten those back out. And I've got to pull 2 head bolts out on each side, which I don't like doing that, but I have to do that because those heat shields go down under the head bolts. But you got 16 head bolts in here, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. I'll do that and just start putting it back together. I'm not going to bring you guys along to show you every little step of that because that gets kind of boring. Let's look here real quick. Ow. It's bent. Sure it is. Perfect. Perfect, 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 perfect. Well, I wonder if anybody notices it's bent. Yeah, I say it's bent. I'm not sure, but it sure looks like it is. Yay. About sanding my fingers down to the bone. I'll show you a few things I bought while I was out. I had to make a couple trips this week to buy parts and stuff. First thing is I bought some more torch fuel for my torch. And those are the previously mentioned stainless steel nuts. These are 3/8 by 24 thread. And I bought this stuff here a while back. This is rubber splicing tape. It's a little bit different from electrical tape because I'm going to try to I'm going to attempt to replicate the wrap that goes on the positive battery cable. That positive battery cable is kind of in bad shape. It's original. It's still all together, but it's kind of faded and the stuff's off. The wrap is faded on it, and that wrap is not. It's not electrical tape. It's some other stuff. And somebody said this was. They said really what you use is supposed to be linerless electrical tape. That didn't look right, so we're going to try this and see how it works. It's rubber splicing tape, so if it doesn't work, lesson learned. It wasn't that much money. And then I got a couple China markers. Marks, black China markers, kind of wax pencil. And what that is to replicate an inspection mark or two on the valve cover. Some of them you see on the front of the left valve cover have a X or like a circle or something like that. So we're probably going to do that just for the fun of it. Bought another water pump. Water pump seems good that was on it, but it's old. I mean, it's been sitting there idle. And I saw a little bit, I say it's good, but I saw a little bit of evidence of some leakage. So I bought a fuel pump. Not going to go through that. Fuel pumps aren't that much money, so not going to go back having to replace stuff that I should have replaced in the first go around. And I got 5 quarts of oil for it, and you got to be real conscientious about what kind of oil they're using these flat tapping engines now, because I don't know if it was the government or who did it, but they mandated that they couldn't put as much zinc or phosphorus in the oils anymore. And that's too bad, because that flat tapping engines need that for like startup, lubrication, help protect the cam and stuff. And so they started taking just about all of it out of the regular oil, because stuff like this Camry back there uses some kind of oil that's like water. It's like a 020 or something like that. Doesn't have to have any of that. If you got a roller cam, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have it. And you know what's funny? Speaking of that white Plymouth right there, which is probably the most underpowered V8 equipped Mopar I've ever driven in my life. and that includes pickups and vans, has roller cam in it. 140 horsepower. It's got a roller cam in it, so you don't have to worry about it on that one. But these cars, the older ones, you have to. So I paid the money for this. This stuff was like $31 for a 5-quart jug of it. It's 2050, which I don't necessarily like using 2050. I don't appreciate being forced into using 2050, but I'll research some alternatives. But it's got, if it's termed racing oil, then they can keep the zinc in it. And people said that you can use diesel oil, but I'm not sure about that. I've seen some stuff that was claiming that they reduced the zinc and the phosphorus in the diesel oil also. So, don't know about that. So anyway, I went with this, and you can go to the parts store actually and get this bottle of stuff that's supposed to be a ZDDP is what this is called, the additive. A ZDDP additive in a bottle, and it's a little bottle. You have to pour the whole bottle in on one of these, and the bottle's $10. So you're talking about $28 for a 5-quart jug of the regular oil, plus another $10 for that bottle of shit to put in it. Or you can just buy this for $31. So, you know what, they try to rip you off at every turn, don't they? Alright guys, well I'm going to go in and may go ahead and just get this edited up and get it uploading here soon. And it's kind of cooling off. This is the time of the day that I like to work out here because it's not so hot. So, okay, we got a while to go on this. This is just tedious work and all that's the way it is. But you got to keep at it. And remember, it's not an R-Peak vehicle until it's been JB welded, and if you take it apart, someday, some month, some year, you will have to put it back together. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next episode.